All right, thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Very quickly, let's take a look at one video that has been making the rounds on social media. Now, a viral video emerged yesterday showing a prominent political and human rights activist, Omoyele Sowore, and Deji Adeyanju warning officials of the EFCC whilst taking pictures of the building moments after they had been called to bar. Now, if you haven't seen the video, we'll take a look and we'll come back.
Which kind of that? What's the concern you with us? With the pass, we enter on our office.
They don't call you to buy. Never are you forgetting that you're professional?
We are not professional at all. No, that's wrong what you are saying. Start harassing people because you carry gun. He told him that he cannot
because they pass. This is not a public.
You don't do it. It's not a public building. They cannot take picture of EFCC. It's not a public building. He said you buy job if you take picture of EFCC. You have to people chairman of EFCC don't that one. Thank you. Better. Thank you.
Now, that video sets the tone for our next discussion, which has seen several politicians called to bar just this week and what their role is in upholding the laws of the Constitution. And joining us this morning is Omoyele Sowore. Thank you so much for joining us.
What the news says is, since Deji has been called to bar, automatically you two have been called to bar.
Well, it's important to correct that I went there to rejoice with Deji, having been called to the Nigerian bar. And on our way there, the EFCC guys blocked the road. So we couldn't drive to the venue of the event, which was the Body of Benchers complex, where the event was taking place. So we walked almost a kilometer to get there. So on our way back, we had to walk back to our car. And here comes the EFCC guys accusing our camera person of taking photographs of the building, and told him that he will buy a market if he finds out that he had taken a photograph of the building. And I was just wondering, what has come upon these guys? Anytime any paramilitary group in Nigeria has access to weapons, they just feel like no Nigerian is worth anything. And the reason I reacted the way we did, is we've lost a lot of cameras to these overzealous people. We've lost people, human beings have been, if we weren't there, they probably would have kidnapped him, taken him inside, forced him to delete the content, and then sometimes even detain people indefinitely for taking pictures, for doing things that are not in any way criminal. There was no sign on any building or along that road that you can't take photographs of the EFCC building. The EFCC building, in my view, is a magnificent building that people should be going there to even visit. The most important building in the world, or as far as America is concerned, is the White House. People go there every morning to take pictures. People line up in fact, you can go and visit the White House on certain days of the week. I mean, what is the problem with Nigeria is what I don't understand. But the thing was that one symbolic reaction is let everybody who is carrying a weapon know that they are servants of the people, and they are not to lord themselves over anybody who is passing by or who is walking by or who is unfortunate to carry a camera. Because there's no law that says that you cannot photograph or videotape a public building. That's why they call it public buildings. Maybe they might have restrictions within their own internal operations, but it shouldn't be about the public building. And if anybody thinks, oh, this is because there's a security agent, what does it mean to be a security agent? Every day you see their footage on TV. You walk past. That place is actually the opposite of the Open University, is it the Nigerian National Open University, which is also a public building. That's a public road. But I know part of it is the overzealousness of these operatives. And a week before, I had the same issue with the DSS. They took over the Federal High Court. And they were the ones vetting lawyers. And that was why I even saw the president of the Nigerian Bar Association there. And I told him, your organization is becoming useless. If the DSS has to be the one vetting lawyers, people who spent years in the university, who studied law, people who were called to the bar, you now ask a DSS guy to carry pencil and exercise book in front of the Federal High Court of Nigeria to be vetting lawyers to go to work. And he said, well, it's a security issue. I said, if it's a security issue, tell the DSS to set up one of their conference rooms and look for a kangaroo judge to come and sentence Nnamdi Kanu inside the place so that we know that you are not pretending about fairness. You are a party to the case already. You cannot be controlling what the other... What if his best lawyer is coming to court and DSS decides that he can't enter the courtroom? Just like they prevented me from entering and collected all my phones. That's also a public place. So we must make sure that all these issues are rectified when it comes to fundamental human rights of Nigerians, that there is no limitation to it. And we have to keep expanding that frontiers. That's what you saw on that day. And I think they quickly realized that they messed up, and some of them were congratulating Deji after they found...
They were congratulating you too.
Well, you know, they were congratulating us so that we could... so that that trouble could end very quickly.
You know why we said we were congratulating you as well? Because generally, almost all the print houses, the media houses were hailing Deji and yourself as if both of you have actually been called to bar. And in response to one of the tweets that we did see online, someone said for the fact that Deji has been called to bar, that means automatically, or has equally been called to the bar, then that means that there's trouble.
I attend more court events in Nigeria than most lawyers in the last 5 years.
We always see that.
Yeah, so I'm always in court. Sometimes I go to court for cases that don't even have anything to do with me. You know?
Why is that?
Well, there are a lot of human rights cases that most people don't know about in Nigeria. There was a lecturer from the Southeast who was arrested because he just, I think, wrote something about IPOB. And he's been in detention. He was not even in a regular detention. They took him to Wawa Barracks in Niger State. This is where they just arbitrarily dump people. And to make it worse, which most Nigerians don't know, judges are ferried from Abuja to go and carry out trials in Wawa Barracks. Not in the regular court, but federal high court judges. So that is how bad things have gotten. There's a girl whose father and mom also have disappeared in the last 2 years. We had to go to court we had to work with Amnesty International for her. There's so many of those cases that I get invited to go attend to. And sometimes when we show up in court, the judges recognize and they expedite some of those cases. Sometimes they don't care. Yeah. So that's why I go to courts. I go to the courtrooms a lot. Sometimes I go to the courts to search for cases that are filed against me that I don't know about, because they also do that. They'll go and file a lot of civil cases, and they don't want to serve me. So I had plenty of time on my hands to go and search the court's records to see if I have cases.
Okay, so in terms of toying with human rights, I would like us to circle back to that. We've seen this play out a lot with security agencies on every cadre. We see, for example, with the protests. Recently, we saw that they said, you know, even though they say your protest is it's a natural right that you have as a citizen, but before that, you will see, you know, cars parked and then with their vans and the guns and everything, just in a subtle way trying to threaten you, you know. So we've seen a lot of security agencies playing God, like having that God complex, even down to security stops, you know, checking your cars. They make you feel like if you misbehave, they just gun you down and then there's nothing you can do. What does that say about the impeding freedom in the country and our judicial system as well? What is that? What is the perception that gives?
So there's general impunity in the country by security agencies, and it's not limited to even, you know, the federal security agencies. I don't know if you know about a few years ago when some of these Lagos security, they were set up by Lagos State government. They almost killed a guy at the toll gate. That was 2 years after NSAS, because he was driving through and they suspected that he wanted to participate in NSAS. That case was taken to court. I think he won. It was Inibehe that took that case up. This wasn't, it's one of these LSDPC, you know, I don't know what agency they are. You have, what's it called, the traffic agencies, and all of them, at the slightest provocation, they're willing to kill you. Even if the offense doesn't carry more than, you know, 200 naira fine. Yeah. And sometimes you've lost count of all the security agencies you have in the country. And that's why you see people were worried about state police. That even without state police, look at what our security agencies are doing. And if you look at the hierarchy, the army, for instance, They're involved in everything, including helping people to eject their tenants. The DSS is the same thing. You see army officials, operatives on the street controlling traffic. These guys have no business in town. Even these new ones, NSCDC, the civil defense that are now carrying guns, they have joined it. At the slightest provocation, they are involved in violation of human rights. In Ondo State, when we were involved, which News Central covered a lot with Resume or Resign for Akeredolu, Amotekun arrested people who were pasting posters against Akeredolu. They were detained for 3 days without food. They beat them up and then took them to the DSS, and the DSS detained them in Comunicado for 3 days. So all of them, this is impunity. And in all honesty, our judicial system aids and abets this, because if you go to court today and sue certain agencies of government, like the DSS or the police, judges are not likely to look your way. When I was shot with a riot gun by a police officer, I took her to court. The judge said she was doing her job, shooting me at close range. So we are still going on appeal now. But the truth is that even when you go on appeal, before you get a date for your case to be heard, will be another 2 years. So justice delayed is justice denied. But what people must do is rise up wherever you might find this culture of impunity. Rise up to really the same way we did. It's not as if we couldn't have let those guys go, but we are sending a message to every goon that's stationed outside, sometimes houses of politicians. Mopo will come and beat you up because you are passing the place or taking a picture. And there's no law that says you can't take a picture of a house or a person on a public property. Even on private properties, as long as you don't trespass, you're entitled to take pictures. And then you add that to the era of social media and tech-driven conversation and interaction. At every slightest provocation, we want to take pictures. So we must expand our democratic front by ensuring that if a police officer is talking to you, you should be allowed to start recording him as soon as he starts talking to you. You see that most of the biggest cases of human rights violations that have been resolved recently were done because there is photographic and video evidence of impunity.
All right.
Yes.
Let's look at the current situation. Especially, let's look at the role politicians play in upholding the constitutional laws as well. While we're celebrating Adeyanju as well, a former governor, former minister of transport, talking about Adeyanju, was equally called to bar, and he said he needed, in his statement, he explained why he wanted to be a lawyer. Do you think that if all politicians understand, not just knowing, but understand what the law says, it will be better for the citizens and, of course, the country?
No, except politicians' characters change. Obtaining a law degree doesn't make you respect human rights. Look, some of the worst human rights violations in Nigeria during the military rule or era were carried out by civilians who were the attorney generals. Because there was never a time during military rule that the attorney general of the federation was a military guy. It's always civilians. They wrote some of the worst laws. Some of the decrees that were violating human rights, press freedom in the country, were written by lawyers. You can quote me anyway, any day about this. So obtaining a degree doesn't make you a better human being, except you're a better human being before you obtain a law degree. And I would imagine that Amechi is not going to be doing pro bono cases. He's not going to be doing human rights law. He will still go back and line up and be getting fat briefs, probably from the government or agencies, So I wish him luck. I heard it took him 19 years to get a law degree, by the way. So that's great resilience on his part. But finally, he has one. But it's important that these guys they understand that human rights is inalienable. And you don't have to be a lawyer to respect and protect human rights. You have to be a human being that believes that other people have rights.
Yeah, but still on human rights, you talked about taking a stand as individuals, that is. But is it not discouraging that it looks as though the system is designed to work against the rights? You just said that if you take your case, it might take you 2 years. Sometimes just to get trial, your hearing, you would be locked up. In fact, a case that shouldn't last for more than 2 months, you'd be locked up for like 2 years. And then some of these people do not have that opportunity to have it recorded, to have this evidence. Yeah. And even though some people who have it recorded do not have that voice on social media. So they cry on social media, and before you know, the issue dies down. So all of this can be discouraging for an average Nigerian, because again, some people do not have that. Some people are ignorant of these things you just said. Some people don't know that you are allowed to actually make videos.
Yes.
So if you're trying to make a video and they try to harass you, you just out of fear, they instill that fear in you that you shouldn't do that. So if Nigerian citizens are facing all of this, right, and human rights is still being violated on a daily basis, and they see that although like 10% of these cases are resolved, but about 90% of people suffer for standing up for their rights, where does that leave us?
Well, you see, what was the biggest resistance against police brutality in Nigeria? EndSARS.
EndSARS.
2020.
Yeah.
It was provoked by a video recording that was taken in Delta State. So it has done great justice to the country. And I'll tell you that during EndSARS and after EndSARS, the police called itself to order. You know, they released a lot of innocent people. They tried to clean up their acts. You know, they got a lot of those officers fired, some transferred away. But because there was no proper follow-up, of course, so many of them are back to their own way of doing things. And I must also say to you that it's not all the time that you record that they let you get away with your recording. Mm-hmm. They're also very, very fast at ensuring that they get a copy of the recording. Yes. So it's always good to have a backup system. Let your recording be back to the cloud. There's a way you set it up. Because the DSS collected my phones last 2 weeks when I went for Nnamdi Kanu's trial. And they tried to delete it, but it didn't work because it was backed up to my iCloud. So as soon as they gave me back my phones, I was able to use it. Even though I saw that they tried to mess with my phone. They were trying to actually clone my phone. Within the period I seized my phone, they tried to clone one of my phones, not knowing that I knew about it. But I let them have their way. I have, because they stole 2 of my phones, 3 of my phones are still with them, and they haven't given it back to me because even after a court order said. This is part of what the impunity we are talking about. There's a court order. After 5 years in this country, after I was falsely arraigned and accused of all kinds of things, they went and discontinued their case. The judge made an explicit order that they should return my money, my phones to me. Till today, the DSS hasn't responded. So how can you have a country and expect the country to be governed appropriately when a majority of people are above the law, or some of the security agents are above the law, and the rest of us are beneath the law? That's the problem. That's where the impunity comes in. And until this is addressed, you can't have a just, fair, and egalitarian society.
Big challenge there.
Yeah.
Well, our time is well spent, but let's drop one more question, one last one, which we'd like you to indeed talk about. Sometime here you had mentioned about the dollar.
Yes.
And that prophecy is indeed nearing its complete fulfillment. It
was fulfilled.
It's fulfilling, but it's nearing its complete.
No, actually, it was fulfilled. There was a day for an hour that the dollar reached 2,000 naira.
2,000 naira,
yes.
Yeah.
And then it came back to 950.
Yeah.
And now they've gone to start doing what they do, which is subsidizing the dollar. That's why it's at 1,600 now.
Finally, what's your take on the current situation economically?
The economy, as I told you at that time, the economy has gone down the toilet. And I remember when I said, you said, God forbid, but that's the reality today, because look at what used to be 1,000 naira when we last spoke in December. They are now 5,000 naira kind of things. Everything has gone up because our economy is highly dependent on our ability to generate forex, because we don't produce. And when you are not producing and you don't have anything that goes internationally beyond just oil, your currency will become useless, especially because those people who are managing the economy also don't understand anything about economics, except the template that is given to them by the World Bank and the IMF. These are the people controlling us. But you see countries where people have independent minds economically, you see that they are doing well. You see a country like Egypt, I hate the repression there. But recently they abandoned the dollar because they wanted to be trading in other currencies. Nigeria has such agreements with China to be trading in yuan, but because of our allegiance to the Bretton Woods institutions, we haven't been able to get out of it because our people don't know what they're doing in the economic sector, especially in the microeconomic sector. Our monetary policy is wonky. We're finding out that they just print naira in Nigeria. for the last 8 years. They just have been printing trillions and trillions of naira. And then when you add that to corruption and shadiness that is involved in selling the dollar, then you can't get past what you are now. What I said, and I'll repeat any day, is that the moment the central bank officials in Nigeria are involved in selling dollar's price can never match, would be what it should be. Because what they just do is pick up dollars, go and sell in the black market, make their money. So there's no incentive to even produce when you can make cheap, fast money.
Yeah.
I said somewhere, most of the children of rich people who are working at the central bank, they don't have a desk. They just have the capacity to come in with their security tax, get involved in dollar transactions, make their money, and close at 4 p.m. That's all they do. And you can quote me any day, anywhere. And you can ask Emefiele when you find them.
I hope to find it, but I think you'll be closer to finding it because I'm expecting that you'll be in one of his court cases.
I don't go to court for people like that, but I usually do for people whose rights are violated. Okay. He was a violator of other people's rights.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. I think we're going to invite you back to really look at this Emefiele's issue, especially when they return back to the court sometime in May. I'm sure you're also aware of the latest, the signature forgery that's been.
I mean, I don't know what the guy didn't do when he was central bank governor. But the good news was that we were covering it. I talked about this extensively. I said everything, but who paid attention until it was too late? Nobody.
Great conversations we've had here this morning. I want to say thank you so much, Omoyele Sowore, for joining us this morning.